What if I told you there was once a car that could fold itself to the width of a bar stool and fit through your garden gate? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about a French car. So weird, so rare, and so brilliant, it makes my neighbor Bob scream, "Alien technology!" every time he sees a photo. It's not a spaceship, it's not a cocktail shaker, it's the 1951 Reyonnah. The only car that could parallel park in a Parisian broom closet and then tuck itself behind the mop. This thing was built by Robert Hannoyer, a Parisian mechanic who took one look at post-war parking laws and said, "Screw it, I'll build a car that folds in half like my uncle's lawn chair after 2 glasses of wine." But before we dive under the hood, hit that subscribe button. Let's set the scene. France, 1950s. The war is over, the croissants are back, but the cities are a mess. Paris, that glorious tangle of cobblestones and existential dread, was never designed for cars. It was designed for horses, baguettes, and people who take 2-hour lunches without guilt. Streets were narrow, parking was a blood sport. Gasoline was expensive, and the average French worker needed something cheap, small, and practical to get from point A to the nearest cafe. This was the golden era of the microcar. All across Europe, tiny, strange, wonderfully ridiculous vehicles were popping up like mushrooms after rain. You had the Messerschmitt in Germany, a bubble car that looked like a fighter jet had a baby with a shopping trolley. You had the Isetta, the Gogglemobile, the Bond minicar, the Moshit, and about 47 other tiny contraptions that all asked the same question: how small can a car get before it becomes a shoe? Robert Hannoyer looked at all of them and said, "Not small enough. Hold my Bordeaux." Because Hannoyer didn't just want a small car, he wanted a car that could become smaller on demand, a car with a secret, a car with a party trick so good it would still be talked about 70 years later by a guy on YouTube with a neighbor named Bob. Now, who exactly was Robert Hannoyer? He wasn't a big automotive corporation. He wasn't backed by investors in suits. He was a Parisian mechanic, a tinkerer, a problem solver with grease under his fingernails and a vision in his head that most people would have called completely insane. Hannoyer looked at the parking problem differently from everyone else. Most people said, "Let's make the car shorter." Hannoyer said, "Let's make the car narrower, but only when we need to." That distinction is genius. Pure, slightly unhinged French genius. His solution? A folding mechanism at the front of the car. When you needed to park, you'd lift the front nose of the vehicle and the 2 front wheels would tuck neatly underneath the body, like a cat folding its legs under itself for a nap, except the cat is made of aluminum alloy, and it was built in 1951 in a Parisian workshop by one determined man who absolutely refused to be beaten by a parking space. Bob, when I showed him this, didn't speak for 45 seconds. That's a personal record. Let's talk about how this thing actually looked, because the Reyonnah wasn't just mechanically interesting, it was visually extraordinary. The body was pure aviation chic. Hannoyer was clearly inspired by the aircraft of his era, sleek, rounded, futuristic. Early prototypes were made of duralumin, an aluminium alloy so light that Bob thought the CIA was using it for spy pigeons. The whole car weighed just 440 pounds, which is 200 kilograms, which is roughly the weight of Timmy after the holidays. Now, about those doors, there weren't any. Doors are for cowards. You accessed the Reyonnah by vaulting over the side, like a French stuntman sneaking home after curfew. The canopy tilted sideways, elegantly, theatrically, like it was trying to flirt with you. You'd tilt it, climb in, and settle into one of the 2 tandem seats, one for the driver at the front, one for the passenger behind, just like a motorcycle, except with a roof and a lot more conversation about parking. Later versions softened this approach slightly. Some had a canvas roof, some had a proper hard top with a sunroof, so you could enjoy the famous Paris drizzle on your face, your knees, and every document you forgot to take out of the seat pocket. The sunroof because sometimes you want to feel the weather, and sometimes the weather wants to feel you back. The whole profile was narrow, impossibly narrow. At full width, the Reyonnah measured 4 feet 9 inches. That's 1.45 meters, already slim. But fold those front wheels under, suddenly you're looking at 2 feet 5 inches, 0.75 meters, less than a meter wide. You could park this thing between 2 parked bicycles and still have room for a baguette on each side. Now let's talk power, and I want you to manage your expectations here. Above the hood, technically, sat a 175cc single-cylinder engine, either an AMC unit or a Yadril, depending on the version. This engine produced 8.5 horsepower. Not 85, not 8,500, 8.5. That's right. Your lawnmower is looking at this engine and saying respect. But here's the magic of physics. When your car weighs 200 kilograms, you don't need much power. Thanks to its featherweight construction, the Reyonnah still managed a top speed of 43 miles per hour. That's 70 kilometers per hour. Enough to keep up with city traffic, enough to feel the wind in your hair, enough to terrify Timmy, who was not wearing a seatbelt, obviously. One special racing version, because of course Hannoyer went racing, hit 62 miles per hour at Montlhéry. That's 100 kilometers per hour, in a folding microcar with 8.5 horsepower, proving that even a microcar can have a midlife crisis and it will do it at full throttle. Transmission was a manual 3-speed gearbox with a chain drive to the rear wheels. Suspension was independent up front using parallelogram arms with a swing arm at the rear. Brakes were hydraulic on all 4 wheels. Yes, all 4. More than I can say for Timmy's bike, which relies primarily on hope and the friction of his shoe soles. Here's where the story takes a bittersweet turn, folks, because Hannoyer didn't hide in his workshop. He was proud of this machine. He took it out. He showed the world. The Reyonnah appeared at the Paris Motor Show not once, not twice, but 5 times. 5 years of walking into the most prestigious automotive event in France and saying, "Yes, hello, I have a car that folds." 5 years of journalists snapping photos, 5 years of crowds gathering, pointing, laughing, then staring in genuine amazement. He entered economy runs, fuel efficiency competitions, where the Reyonnah performed brilliantly. He took it to racing events. He even attracted the attention of a coach builder who offered to put it into proper production. Everything was in place, except the money. The money never showed up. Kind of like Timmy when it's time to split the dinner bill. He's always just stepping outside to take a call. Every time, without fail. Production plans were drawn up. Big numbers were discussed, and in the end, Robert Hannoyer built exactly 12 cars. 12. You've probably owned more umbrellas than there are Reyonnahs ever built. You've definitely thrown away more disposable razors. Of those 12 cars, only 4 are known to survive today. 4. They're scattered across private collections and museums. Each one is a tiny aluminum miracle. Each one is proof that one man with a good idea, a workshop, and a complete disregard for conventional thinking can build something the world still talks about 7 decades later. The Bruce Wayner Microcar Museum, one of the greatest collections of tiny, wonderful vehicles ever assembled, had a pristine, restored example. That car sold at R.M. Sotheby's auction for $184,000. That's right, $184,000 for a folding French microcar with 8.5 horsepower and no doors. And you know what? Worth every penny. Your wife's patio furniture has not appreciated in value. The Reyonnah has. Think about that next time she buys another set of outdoor cushions. So what do we make of the Reyonnah? What do we say about Robert Hannoyer and his folding, flirting, featherweight French fantasy? We say, hats off. Genuinely. This man identified a real problem, urban parking in post-war Europe, and engineered a genuinely novel solution. Not a smaller car, a car that changed its own size based on what you needed. That's not just clever engineering, that's systems thinking. That's design philosophy. That's the kind of idea that, had it found the funding it deserved, might have changed personal transportation in European cities entirely. It was small, it was slow, it had the horsepower of an angry squirrel with a grudge, but it was bold, it was original, and it was, above all else, brilliantly, stubbornly, magnificently French. Bob has now printed a photo of the Reyonnah and put it on his refrigerator. He calls it the car that made me feel things. I didn't push for more details. Folks, if you enjoyed this deep dive into French folding ingenuity, please consider becoming a channel sponsor. It costs less than what Timmy spends on fishing bait that he never uses, for fish that he never catches, in a lake he's never actually been to. The sponsorship link is in the description, right next to Bob's survival bunker blueprints and Timmy's outstanding dinner bill. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who thinks French cars are boring. They are wrong. They have always been wrong. The Reyonnah proves it. Thanks for watching, and remember, if your wheels don't fold under your car when you park, is it even French? See you next time on Worldwide Vehicle.